Hello, good morning, everyone. I am Deanne Jones.
I
I'm the
give you a
project
copy
director for
later if you got
Strong
one.
Readers, and we are ready for our back to school meeting. So I know we have several schools who started this week. We had some local schools who started today. We had a few schools who started last week. So whether you're already back to school or you're in a professional development day or you're just getting your classroom ready, I know that your time is very valuable right now and that this is a very busy season for you. So we are not going to waste any time and we're just going to go ahead and get right to it. Let me get the agenda going and let me share. Megan, could you share this, the bit.ly for the agenda so that everyone could follow along with our agenda, please?
Yes, I will get that.
Okay, perfect. So let's just get started. Um, First of all, we have updated all of the forms for this current school year, so you can find them on our Strong Readers for Schools webpage. However, you will not be able to find them today. We are having internet issues at the state agency today, and so not just our internet access in our offices, but also anything that is hosted by the state. So all of our state-run websites are down. As far as anybody who is trying to work on their plans in single sign-on, I've had lots of emails, people asking about that. That is not working today. Um, they are working on that, but until we have our internet access restored or whatever is going on with the state, all of that is down today. So in our agenda where I'm going through things and I had links that I was planning on showing you some things, I will not be able to do that because our website is currently not working. But we'll get through that. But just know that that's one of the main questions we've been having issues and questions about today is things not working on single sign-on for people who are working on either their summer school report or their annual district reading plan or their beginning of the year report. If you're working on any of that, you're not gonna be able to do it today until they get our systems back and running. So just know that. And then, but our forms are on there once you can access our website again. We have updated all of the forms, the new slip. There wasn't a lot of changes to most of those. The slip doesn't have very many
I'm
changes, but
muted
we did
now. I
update
wasn't
it.
ever not
And
muted.
then we have the fillable versions uploaded as well,
I
the
muted myself.
addendum for the dyslexia screener, all of that stuff is updated now. And then we also have we have the technical guidance for some of our screeners posted. Not all of our vendors have responded to our request for updates, but the ones that have, we have those posted. And then you will notice there are some that still have out next to their name, still awaiting response from the vendor. So as soon as those vendors respond to us, we will have their updated guidance posted as well. I do have one new resource that I wanted to highlight today, but now I'm not able to click on it for you. But once this is up and running again, you can click this link. We have a new family guide for strong readers. It is on the Strong Readers for Families page, and this is something that you could send out to your families. This was developed by some of our literacy heroes, and just has some. It's just a good resource that you could send home with your parents, maybe at like a literacy night or meet the teacher night, or just with your kids in their backpacks during that first week of school. It's just some good guidance for families when they're reading at home with their students, things to consider and things to look for and things to point out with their children, just to develop some of those good practices to make the most use of that time that families are spending with their students reading at home. So that is a great resource for you once you're able to access it. It's our new family guide for strong readers. Then moving on to the reports. We do have the updated guideline, the updated timeline that has all of the deadlines for reports. It's on Strong Readers for Schools webpage. And so these these are the reports that are currently open. Our summer school report is still currently open. It is due August 15th, so that deadline is very soon. That's the end of this week. And this is required. This is a newly required report. This is the first year for it. And every elementary site in the state of Oklahoma is required to complete this report. If you did not offer summer school, you are still required to complete this report, but you would just click, and the very first question asked is, did you offer summer school? If you did not offer summer school, you put no, you did not offer summer school, and then you just scroll down to the bottom and submit. But it is required for every site to complete this. There is a video tutorial that you can watch that goes through each question and tries to address some of the questions that we have that you might have. Some of the main ones that were asked most frequently on this is, what if we didn't offer it at our site, but we co-opt either with another site at our district to offer summer school, or we're a small district and we co-opt with another district. Who's going to claim those numbers? And how we want that done is we want whoever's hosting the summer school to complete the report and put the numbers for every student that is attending summer school at that site, regardless of what site or district they're enrolled in. And then those cooperating sites or districts would just put, no, we did not offer summer school. It's not going to penalize anyone or have a mark that you didn't offer summer school. We really only need the numbers of students who attended some type of learning opportunity in the summer throughout the state. So what we're just wanting is the overall number of students across the state who attended some type of literacy learning opportunity in the summer. And we'll just get the cleanest data if we have it only reported by the site that's hosting. That way we don't get some students counted multiple times. Another question we get is, what if we didn't use Strong Readers funds to pay for our summer school? Do you still want us to report them? And the answer to that is yes. We have a lot of districts who offer some type of summer school or some type of literacy learning opportunity through funding from one of the tribes. And that is perfectly fine. And we want to know those numbers as well. We want to know, regardless of your funding source, how many students in your district attended a summer learning opportunity in literacy. So that report is due on the 15th, which is Friday, and we need that information. It just asks a few questions, basically how many students that you had enrolled in K through third that attended, and then it asks about how many attended with, I think it's like 90% attendance rate, and how many students with IEPs attended, and how many teachers did you have teaching summer school. So that one's due on the 15th. The other one that's currently open is also in single sign-on, but it's the annual district reading plan. It is open right now. It's due on August 30th. We have an updated tutorial video for you. This is the link. This link will work because this is actually a YouTube video. And later, when our website's working again, you can also find this link on our website. For the district plan, there are superintendent and district user roles. So if you are a site user, then you have access to complete a site plan. If you are a district user role, you can work on the site plan or the district plan. And then after district or site user completes the site plan, that needs to be site approved by the site principal. And then once all the sites are finished, the district plan is finished, the district superintendent does have to certify the plan before it is sent into the state. I did say the principal must confirm the plan. This two most frequently asked questions in the last few weeks that we've had is, number one is about copying last year's plan. That is no longer an option. Last year, when we made so many changes to the plan, that was one of the things that went away, was that when you open your plan, there is no longer an option to copy the plan from the previous year. And that is the way it's going to be this year too. So you will be having to enter new information for this school year completely from scratch. There will be there's no more copy option. So you will have to enter all of your information for this year for each the site and the district plan as well. All of the plans have to be submitted and approved before we can send out any Strong Readers funds. So it's very important that you get this done and adhere to this August 30th timeline for the deadline for this, so that we have time to read through the plans and approve them. And then when we get those approved and the BOI report numbers in, that we can send out the allocations to the district. Another question I wanted to address that we've been getting a lot of questions about is the timeline for your assessment. So one of the changes that was made to the plan this year is that once someone completes your district plan, so in the district plan, there's a section called the district timeline, and whoever has access to that, somebody with district user role, has to complete your district timeline, and they will put in the district assessment window for the BOY, the MOY, and the EOY. Once they enter those, whoever goes into the site plan, when they enter their site assessment window, it is going to make it be within the district window. So we've been getting a lot of people say, I'm putting in dates and it's telling me that they're outside my district window. If your district set a window of August 1st through August 15th, and you go in and say on the site plan that you're going to do it September 1st through September 10th, it's not going to let you do that. It's going to give you an error message at the top in red telling you that your assessment dates are outside of the district assessment window, and it will make you correct those before it will save anything on your site plan in that section about dates. A problem that this has caused and that will have to be addressed at each district is if you open your site plan and start working on it before someone completes your district timeline, no matter what date you put in, it's going to say it's outside of your district testing window. So at each district, someone is going to have to go in and do the district timeline first and put in the district assessment windows so that when each individual site opens up the site plan and puts in their dates, it will accept them if they're inside the district window. But if you don't have a district window set yet in the district timeline, then it's going to deny any date that the site's put in. So if you're getting that, if you have just site user role and you're getting error messages on your assessment windows, you need to check with your district level people and see if they have yet completed the district timeline, because that may be what your problem is. And then confirm with them what dates they put in for the district window, and then just ensure that your site windows are within that district window. You're allowed to have a 3-week long district window. And then each site, we have recommended a 1 to 2 week window at each site, but it has to be within that district 3-week window. And then the BOI report is
Deanne.
opening this Friday. Yes.
Before we go to the next one, we did have a couple questions back on the summer school sorry, let me scroll back up. The summer school
Okay.
report, where is it located? This Carissa says her principal says he can't find it on single sign-on.
Okay. Okay, so the summer school report is just another tab on the in single sign-on. In single sign-on, when you go to the Strong Readers Act survey, which is where you find your beginning of the year report and the end of the year report, the summer school report is located in there as well. So you'll log in to single sign-on, click Strong Readers Act survey, and at the top of the survey, there are different tabs across the top, and there's a tab for the BOI, EOI, and there's a tab for the summer school report. Okay. Anything else about summer school report?
Not about the summer school report, but I do have a question about fundings. Can we code extra strong readers funds for teacher salaries? And can we code extra strong readers funds for summer school bus drivers?
Yes, yes to both. There are, if you'll go to, when our website's working again, if you go to the Strong Readers for Schools page, we have you can go to the section that says funding. We have a funding checklist. And so for any teacher who is working with students who are below level, so depending on how you do that at your district, it could be an interventionist, but you could have classroom teachers who are providing interventions for below level readers so their salaries are able to be used with Strong Readers funds, and that is one of the things that's on our funding checklist. And then the other thing was transportation for summer school, and that is expressly on that checklist as well. I think it's on the second page where we have under summer school, we have codes for bus drivers and codes for fuel. So those both would be allowed. Do you have any questions on the annual district reading plan or the timeline with the assessment windows, Megan?
Not yet. I think we're
Okay.
good.
All right, and so I'm going to move on to in the Strong Reader Survey, the BOI report is opening this Friday. and this would be where we're getting your numbers for your beginning of the year testing. You are allowed to have your testing window anytime in August or September. Your district can set up to a 3-week assessment window for the district. And then once all of that testing is completed, you would give your beginning of the year numbers to us of how many students you have below level, K through third grade, in your BOI report. This report is located in single sign-on. Once you go into single sign-on, there is an application that is the Strong Reader Survey. And this is one of the tabs at the top, the BOI report. And you will be entering what you're using for your screening assessment, how many students you tested, how many were tested below level, as well as what assessment you're using for screening for the characteristics of dyslexia. The other thing it's going to ask is about if you have students who were exempted from strong readers, provisions of strong readers, and you will document how many students you have that qualified for each of the exemptions at each grade level. That is opening this Friday, and then it will be due October 1st. And like I said earlier, this is one of the reports that we have to have turned in from every site across the state so that we know how many students we have scoring below that 40th percentile rank across the state. And that is how we use that number. We take our strong readers budget, which is $17.5 million, that 100% of goes to districts, and we take that 17.5 divided by the number of students below level across the state. And that is how we get our per pupil allotment that we send money out to the districts. So that is very important that we get everyone's numbers in and to us by October 1st. If you have any problems with your reports, if you have content questions like what to count or any of those things, you can email your content questions to literacy@sde.ok.gov, and we check that and we will respond to that. But if you have technical questions like just something's not working in the system for you, or you're, having some kind of issue, though, for technical issues, you would need to start a service ticket. And for that, you do that at servicedesk@omes.ok.gov. Moving on to the Strong Readers website requirement. So we're nearing the deadline for this requirement. This deadline for this new requirement is September 1st. And so districts, for the first time, are required to post their data to their school website by September 1st. And this would be your data from the previous school year. So by September 1st, you'll be posting your data from the school year 24-25. This is to be collected and published at site level. The only thing that's the exception to that is with the expenditures, and the expenditures are district level expenditures, and it's only with your strong readers funds. So when it's asking about money spent on instruction, we don't want to know your whole district's expenditures for instruction. We only want to know your instruction expenditures that were funded with strong readers funds. And then each school is also, they're required to use our OSDE provided format. We've looked at that in several other meetings. I can't access this right now because our website's not working, but it is an Excel sheet, and you'll go through each thing and answer the questions. We highly recommend that you use you are required to use our format, but we also recommend that you leave it in, it's an Excel sheet, and we recommend that you leave it that way because we have it ready where that it is ADA compliant. And if you change the format, if you save it as a PDF, or you put it into your Google Drive or do anything like that, it changes some of the compliancy, and it makes it not be ADA compliant anymore. So we highly recommend that you leave it as an Excel sheet. Now, we do recommend that you lock the Excel sheet if you have any data that you're posting that is redacted. So, for example, in this Excel sheet, if you post anything with the number less than 10, instead of, like, if I put in the number 8 for my number of kindergarten students that are on an IEP, and I put that there are 8 of them, it will display that as less than 10 instead of putting 8 on there. And that's done to provide some privacy for our students. And then it will also make the percentage in that instance say not available. But if you have it posted without that cell being locked and someone hovers over that or clicks into that cell, they will be able to see up at the top where the formula is, they will be able to see the number that you entered. So in that instance, we ask that you would lock those cells so that they can't click into that to see the number that is attempted to be hidden. We have a guidance document that you can access. This is the link to it, but it's on our Strong Readers for Schools webpage. And it walks you step by step through each question. And we tried to preemptively answer any questions that we thought districts would have. We even talked to some districts like, what questions do you have about this? And tried to answer some of those on that document. So that would be a good document to read over as you're completing your format to be posted. So if you have any questions about the Strong Readers requirement, you can email us. Also, with this new requirement, you have until September 1st to post it, but on our Strong Readers Annual District Plan, which is due on August 30th, you would have just a check mark that you're going of assurance that you will have this posted by September 1st, and you're just check marking, yes, we are going to have this posted by September 1st. And then on the BOI report, we actually ask for your link to it. So when you're submitting your BOI report, you will have to put in your URL link to where you have this website requirement posted so that we can see those. As we're heading back to school and starting all of this beginning of the year assessments, I just want to review some of the types of assessments and their purposes. We have 3 types of assessments that are required under the Strong Readers Act. That is universal screening, the diagnostic, and the progress monitoring. So I'm going to open this for us to just look at for just a little bit. We've looked at this in some of our previous meetings. I think it is a great representation of the different types of assessments that we have. And so it's always just great to review these at the beginning of the year as you're starting all of your assessments. So first we talked about, we do the screening assessment. The purpose of the screener is to see who needs some help. So we're identifying our students that are having reading difficulties, that are at risk for reading difficulties. And we need to see who are our students that we need to provide some extra support for. So that's why we're giving this universal screener. You are required to give the universal screener that is on our approved list. We have 9 that are approved for universal screening and for screening for the characteristics of dyslexia. And we have 3 additional that are approved for universal screening only. So you would give one of those. And then if students score below the 40th percentile rank or whatever the equivalent to that is with your screener, then you'll know that you're putting those students on a student literacy intervention plan, a SLIP plan, and you're going to start providing some intervention services for those students. After you have that list of students that need help, now what we need to find out next is what kind of help do these students need? What are the skills that they are lacking that we need to provide some support and interventions for? So that leads you down to diagnostic assessments. We do require that you give a diagnostic assessment to every student that scores below the 40th percentile rank. We do not, however, have a list of approved diagnostic assessments. That is up to your district to choose whatever diagnostic assessment you think best fits the needs of your students. So the diagnostic assessment is telling you what kind of help does this student need. This is the skill that they need. And then you're going to start giving them some interventions on that. A lot of your intervention materials will come with some type of a diagnostic assessment, and you can use that. Some of them call them like a placement. So maybe you take this placement test, you might take this, and it tells you this student doesn't know their beginning blends, start with less than number 14. So those kind of things, those are diagnostic in nature. They're telling you what skill you need to work with on that student. And then after that, you're going to start giving help to that student. You're providing the intervention services, you're giving them extra help and support in those skills. So then your next type of assessment would be a progress monitoring. After giving them this help, you want to monitor their progress to see if the interventions that you're providing are being effective for the student. Is it helping them? Are they learning the content that you are trying to get across? And we have a recommended of frequency of progress monitoring. We recommend that your tier 2 students are being progress monitored at least monthly. We recommend that your tier 3 students are being progress monitored weekly. Once again, just like with the diagnostics, we do not have a approved list for progress monitoring assessments. You are welcome to choose whatever fits best for the needs of your district. But we do have a requirement that you do some type of progress monitoring, and it will be noted on your annual district reading plan as well on each individual student's slip plan. You are required to put what diagnostic assessment you're using and what progress monitoring tool you're using. This infographic that we used last year, we kind of talked about this real quickly last year at the beginning of the year, and I even had a district who I thought was great. They took this and actually they just kind of used this, and then they inserted what tool they were using for their screener, what tool they were using for diagnostic, and what tools they were using for monitoring, for their staff to look at and to just kind of think about the flow of this and the purpose of it. And so just a really great tool that you can use, for just a little quick PD on assessments and what's required and the purpose and what we're using them for. We want to make sure anytime that we are testing students that we're using what we're learning from them for their benefit. So um, these monthly meetings will be held every month on the second Tuesday of the month at 1 p.m. This year we do have one exception month. So November of this year, the second Tuesday happens to be Veterans Day. So we will do that one on the third Tuesday of the month. We will always record these and have them posted. Usually we try to get it done later that day or the next day, but just as quickly as we can, we usually get these recordings done and posted. So if you have, Megan, are there any other questions before?
There are quite a few
Okay.
questions in the chat.
Okay.
So we're gonna hop back up to the summer school. There's a question specific about our K2 did summer school at our site and third grade summer school was at their site. We are in the same district. Do we do a joint summer school report or do we have an option to do a site report?
The summer school reports are by site. So I would put whichever site hosted the third grade, they would put in all the third grade numbers of everyone who came there, and they would enter zeros in the K through 2. And whoever hosted the K through 2 put in the numbers for the K through 2 and put zeros in all the third grade. I'm trying to think if that made sense with what she said. So Meg,
So
can
that
you tell
was
me that?
Sharon. Sharon, if it did not answer your question, let us
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
All right. And then Stephanie is asking, should the dyslexic screener be given within 15 days or 30 days from the original test?
Okay. So you have 30 days because I understand why it's confusing because we do have a 30-day rule and we have a 15-day rule as well. You have 30 days from the universal screener to give the dyslexia screener. And then you have an additional 15 days after you give the dyslexia screener to notify the parents of the results of the dyslexia screener. So that's where the confusion is. So you do have 30 days after the universal to give the dyslexia screener and then an additional 15 to notify parents.
Any updates on the SLIP plan in Ed Plan?
Still a work in progress. Still a work in progress on that.
If we had an ELL student come in last January, would they still be exempt this year?
Yes, they can be because we count for EL students, it has to have had less than 1 year of instruction, and we count a full school year starting October 1st. So if they came to your school after October 1st of last school year, then they would be exempt this year as well because that wasn't a full school year last year.
And Joanna is asking, are schools required to have a Strong Readers Act committee similar to the RSA committee previously required?
Yes, it is the exact same requirement. We have that will be in your annual district reading plan. You are required to have on that committee, you are required to have an administrator, a teacher from more than one grade level, and a parent. Those are the required members. And that is exact same that it was under RSA.
Can the Strong Readers Science of Reading Professional Development count as the Dyslexia Dysgraphia PD requirement?
I'm not for sure about that because that would be a certification question. I hate to give an answer on that because I don't want to give out any information that's not accurate.
Right. And if it's certification, it's always best to go
Yeah.
through the certification office for sure. Because I don't know either. If you use DIBELS 8, do we still need to add PAST for dyslexia screening?
Um, I would always refer back to our guidance document on Dibbles, and I can't access our website right now to look at that. But we should have that guidance on there all of the vendors' administration guidance should be in that. If you go to our Strong Readers for Schools website, scroll down about halfway where we have all of the screeners listed, you can click Dibbles, and they would have that posted in their guidance document.
And that was, let's see. Is there an updated form for strong readers exemptions?
No, the form, we didn't change anything on that form. And I believe that one didn't even have a date on it. So we didn't change that one at all. That one would be the exact same form that it was last year for the exemptions.
And Gina was asking, in regards to the IEP for efficiency, the web sheet should align with the EOI report, correct? Is that right?
Yes. So I think what we're asking is about how the number of students you had on there were on an IEP that scored proficient. I think is what we're asking, and I think that should line up. Yes.
And then where on the website, or where did you say they will check the web info will be posted by September 1st?
So actually two different places. On the annual district reading plan, there is just an assurance statement that you just check a little box saying, yes, we understand that this has to be posted by September 1st. But then on the Strong Readers Act survey in the BOI report, which isn't open yet, it's going to open on Friday. That one is the one that you're going to have to post your link. So.
Okay, and Lisa says we're using Star Screener, but we've also signed up for Amira. Told by Amira we need to use at least some part of Amira Screener, either the screener or dyslexia for reporting for BOY, MOY, and EOI, since it's the state paying for Amira. Can you elaborate on this?
Yes, if you take one of our, if you utilize one of our paid seats for Amira, we want you to report Amira data to us. So for your BOI and EOI numbers that you're submitting to us, we would want that to be from your Amira testing if you are using one of the state paid seats.
And does Amira provide the diagnostic progress monitoring tool through the tutoring program?
They do have, I think that is through the tutoring. They do have a diagnostic tool of some sort. So yes.
Okay, and Rebecca, you might have to clarify. You said, do you have a PDF of that? And it might have been when you had the assessment slide
Oh,
or up.
yes.
And if that's not what you're referring to, Rebecca, just let us know. But she asked if we had the PDF about it. Or
It should be, she should be able to access it from the link
the
from our
agenda.
agenda. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Does the Amira also have the personalized learning platform? And can you tell us more about it if it does?
So Amira does have a learning platform. So once the student goes in and takes the screener, it will, it knows where they are and it will start them there in the learning platform. We are offering for free to districts the learning platform as well as the screener and learning platform for grades K through 5. But then we also are offering the screener only for grades 6 through 8, but we are not paying for the learning platform for grades 6 through 8. But in Strong Readers World, we mostly are dealing with K through 3 and then some ongoing for 4th and 5th. And so the screener as well as learning platform would be paid for in those grades.
All right.
I just see a question about slip
Oh.
requirements for 4th and 5th, and that, has kind of changed since we don't have the 3rd grade retention piece anymore. So previously when we had that 3rd grade permit, probationary promotion, that's what we did. Students that were probationally promoted were put on a slip in 4th and 5th. So since that requirement's gone, what we're doing now is if you had students who were on a slip in 3rd grade and then they finished 3rd grade but were still not testing at that 40th percentile rank and you passed them on to 4th grade anyway, and then they test the beginning of the 4th grade and they're still scoring below the 40th percentile, those students have to be on a SLP plan for fourth grade, and then essentially could be for fifth grade as well if they're still not testing on level. So that's the requirement. If one of the questions I get sometimes is, what if a student was on level in third grade, they were never on a SLP plan, K through 3, they weren't on a SLP, but then they get to fourth grade and they test below level, do we have to put them on a SLP? The answer to that is no. You are not required to put students on a SLP for the first time in fourth grade. It doesn't mean you can't, because I mean, you can use our form to document any type of interventions and help that you would want to give to that student, but you would not be required to put that student on a SLP plan. We're only requiring it for students who were on a SLP in third, went on to fourth, but are still testing below level. And then the same for the same question, if you had a student who was on a SLP and then they weren't on level, and you put them on a SLP at the beginning of fourth, and then maybe mid-year they reach that 40th, 50th percentile rank, you can discontinue their SLP.
And then Jessica followed that up with fourth and fifth do not need dyslexia screeners, though, right? Or correct?
You are not required to do the dyslexia screener in fourth and fifth. That's right. Doesn't mean you can't. And another thing about the dyslexia screener is it's only required at the beginning of the year. So, I mean, if you're using something like a Mira, it's built in anyway. And so anyone you're giving the screener to is also getting screened for the characteristics of dyslexia. But some of the others where it's a separate measure, you're only required to do that at the beginning of the year. So if a student is below the 40th percentile rank on the universal at the beginning of the year, in K through 3, you're required to give them the dyslexia screener. But if they were on level at the beginning of the year and then they are below the 40th at Christmas time, you're not required to give them the dyslexia screener. You're certainly welcome to if you think it would be beneficial, but it would not be required. It's only required in legislation for the beginning of the year. I see a couple questions about the 10% requirement for professional development. That is still, there was no change to that. It's exactly as it's been in the last several years. You are, if you receive at least $2,500 in Strong Readers funds, you're required to spend 10% of those funds on science reading professional development from one of our approved vendors. We did recently approve a bunch of new courses. In the spring, when we did reviews of professional development that were submitted to us, we approved 43 new courses. So we have quite a few new courses on that Airtable. If you go to the State Department website and go to Literacy Professional Development on that Airtable, we now have, I think, 144 courses listed. So we have a little bit more variety than was there previously. We have some that are, more intense and take many months, like letters, but we also have some that are online courses that take maybe 2 hours to complete. So hopefully there is a larger variety there that might help you find something to fit your needs.
For the
Okay.
Science of Reading PDs, are there costs listed as well? And if there's not a cost listed, do they
We
just have?
don't have the, yeah, we don't have the cost listed because they just kept changing so often with so many of them that we couldn't keep up with updating the cost. And then sometimes it changes if it's per teacher, or if you have a large group, then it's cheaper by teacher. So we did take off the column that had the cost listed. So you do have to actually go to the vendor's website to find the cost. Oh, here's a question, and this is a great one and that I didn't mention, the students who were in fourth and fifth grade, and it's for ongoing intervention for fourth and fifth on the SLP. If they are on an IEP in fourth and fifth grade, you are not required to put them on a SLP, which is different from K through 3. So I'm glad someone mentioned that, because they are correct, and that is different in K through 3. If they're on an IEP, they are still required to be on a SLP plan if they're below the 40th percentile rank. But once we hit that fourth grade mark and you're providing those ongoing interventions, if the student is on an IEP, you no longer have to have them on a SLP. You still are required to give them some interventions, but you can document their interventions on their IEP. So I'm glad that someone asked that question.
And Kristen had a question. So I guess the required website document, there are two cells in the top row that say hashtag value. I'm thinking that's probably an error that's popping up. What are those cells supposed to be? Do you happen to know?
I can't pull it up right now. But yeah, I think sometimes when you download it and it's into something because like when I download it, I can see them all, but I've seen people pull them up and I don't know if it's
It
um
might be the way it's
formatting
embedded in the website. Yeah.
yeah.
Or, yeah.
So I can't I don't remember what's this in that one unless I could pull it up right and I can't right now. The proficiency letter is still a requirement. That hasn't changed. That would be the same as last year. So if a student is scoring at the 60th percentile rank or higher, you're required to send a letter of proficiency. And that letter didn't change. I don't think we made any updates to that letter. It's still the same, which is a sample letter. You are allowed to make your own notice of proficiency. Just make sure that you have all the same components in it that we have in the sample. And that one does not require a signature. It's just a notice that you're sending home to parents and put a copy in the student's file. You're only allowed to, you're only required to send that once a year. So if a student is scoring at the 65th percentile at the beginning of the year and then they score at the 71st at mid-year, you don't have to send it again. You're only sending that once a year. You also are not required to send those at the end of the year. So if you have a student who did not score above the 60th at the BOI and MOI, and then they do at the EOI, you would not be required to send that because the purpose of that is to tell the parents that their student scored proficient and they're unlikely to need interventions the rest of that year, and there will be no point in sending that in May. So we are only requiring proficiency letters at the beginning of the year and mid-year. Okay. Okay. I think that's it. And if you have any other questions, you can email us. We have our shared inbox is literacy@sde.ok.gov. My personal one is Deann, Deann .jones @sde.ok.gov. And we would be glad to help you and just wishing you all a happy back to school. And as always, thank you for all you do for the young readers in Oklahoma every day. Goodbye.